The midday sun beat down on the small village of Shirdi. Inside the Dwarkamai mosque, the noon arati had just concluded. Its sacred chants still echoed in the hearts of the devotees gathered there. Sai Baba, their beloved master, sat peacefully, his eyes filled with a boundless ocean of love. He was more than a teacher. He was a mother to all who came to him. He offered them sacred udi, the holy ash from his fire, a symbol of his grace and protection. Devotees would approach him one by one, their hearts heavy with worldly cares. Baba listened to each person with complete attention. He offered sweet words of comfort, a gentle touch, or a knowing glance that seemed to wash away their worries and fill them with hope. Among the many souls who sought Baba's guidance was a man named Ganu. He was a devoted follower, a talented singer of kirtans, and a police officer by profession. Ganu was also a scholar. He loved to study the ancient scriptures and sought to understand their deep spiritual meanings. Recently, he had been studying the Ishavasya Upanishad, one of the most profound texts of Hindu philosophy. Its opening verse captivated and confused him at the same time. The verse spoke of God pervading everything in the universe and the need to renounce the world to enjoy this divine truth. Ganu felt a deep calling to understand this, but its true essence remained just beyond his grasp, like a beautiful melody he could not quite remember. Ganu was not one to give up easily. He approached many learned scholars and pundits, hoping they could shed light on the complex verse. He traveled to different towns, sat at the feet of wise men, and engaged in long discussions. Each scholar offered their own interpretation, quoting other scriptures and providing complex intellectual arguments. While their explanations were clever and full of knowledge, they did not touch Ganu's heart. His mind was filled with more theories and concepts, but his soul remained thirsty. The intellectual gymnastics only deepened his confusion, leaving him feeling more lost than before. The profound peace promised by the Upanishad seemed farther away than ever. Feeling disheartened, Ganu finally returned to the one place where he knew he could find true solace: Shirdi. He went to Sai Baba, fell at his feet, and poured out his intellectual struggles. He explained his deep desire to understand the Ishavasya Upanishad and how all his efforts had failed. He pleaded with Baba to explain the meaning to him in a way he could truly understand. Sai Baba listened patiently, a gentle smile playing on his lips. He looked at Ganu with immense compassion, knowing that the answer his devotee sought could not be found in books, but in life itself. Baba's response was simple and, to Ganu, completely unexpected. Sai Baba did not launch into a long philosophical discourse. He did not quote any scriptures or offer a complex explanation. Instead, he looked at Ganu and said, "There is no need to be so anxious. The answer you seek is waiting for you in Vilpale." Ganu was puzzled. Vilpale was a suburb of Bombay, far from the scholarly circles he had been frequenting. He asked Baba who he should meet there. Baba's reply was even more surprising. He told Ganu to go to the house of his devotee, Kaka Saheb Dixit, and seek out his housemaid. She, Baba assured him, would solve his doubt and explain the true meaning of the Upanishad. Ganu was completely bewildered. How could an ordinary, likely uneducated housemaid explain the meaning of one of the most difficult spiritual texts ever written? He had consulted with the most respected pundits and scholars in the land, and they had all failed to satisfy him. Now, his beloved guru was sending him to a simple maid. It seemed like a strange, almost nonsensical instruction. A part of him felt a flicker of doubt. Was Baba joking with him? But his faith in Sai Baba was deep and unshakable. He knew that Baba's words, however strange they seemed, always carried a hidden purpose and a profound lesson. Trusting his master completely, Ganu decided to follow the instruction without question. True faith means obedience, even when the mind cannot understand the reason. He took Baba's leave and prepared for his journey to Bombay. The long trip gave him plenty of time to think. He wondered what kind of person this maid would be. What special wisdom did she possess that the great scholars lacked? He tried to imagine the scene, picturing himself, a well-known kirtankar and police officer, approaching a humble servant to ask for spiritual enlightenment. The situation was certainly unusual, but his heart was filled with anticipation rather than doubt. He felt that he was on a divine errand. Upon reaching Bombay, Das Ganu made his way to Kaka Saheb Dixit's house in Vilepale. He was greeted warmly by Kaka, who was surprised and delighted to see him. Das Ganu explained the purpose of his visit, telling Kaka that Sai Baba himself had sent him to learn from his maid. Kaka was just as astonished as Das Ganu had been. He confirmed that he did have a maid, a simple and hard-working woman, but he couldn't imagine how she could explain the Upanishads. Nevertheless, respecting Baba's command, Kaka called for the maid and explained the strange but sacred request to her. Das Ganu sat patiently, his heart open, ready to receive the lesson Baba had orchestrated for him. The maid, a woman of humble means and simple demeanor, came and stood before them. She was initially shy and very confused. She could not believe that a respected man like Das Ganu, sent by Sai Baba, wanted to learn something from her. After some gentle encouragement from Kaka Dixit, she began to share a recent story from her life, not knowing that her simple words held the key to a profound spiritual mystery. She explained her daily life, working hard for a meager salary. She spoke of how she and her family lived, often struggling to make ends meet, but always finding a way to be cheerful and content with what little they had. She then narrated a specific incident. Recently, there had been a celebration at her employer's house. As a gift, her kind employers had given her a beautiful new sari. It cost 10 rupees, which was a significant sum for her. She was overjoyed with the gift. She described the happiness she felt when she received it, the vibrant colors, and the soft texture of the fabric. It was a luxury she could never have afforded on her own. She wore the new sari with great delight, her heart filled with gratitude for the kindness shown to her. She felt like a queen for a day, enjoying the simple pleasure that this unexpected gift had brought into her life. However, the maid's story did not end there. She went on to explain that while she cherished the new sari, she was equally at peace in her old, worn-out clothes. The new sari brought a moment of joy, a celebration, but it did not define her happiness. Her contentment came from within. She explained that she knew her body was just like a piece of clothing for the soul. Whether wrapped in a new sari or an old one, the person inside remained the same. She saw the new sari as a gift from God, received with joy, and her old clothes as her current state, accepted with peace. Her happiness was not dependent on what she wore or what she possessed. As Das Ganu listened to her simple, heartfelt words, a light went on in his mind. The complex verse from the Upanishad suddenly became crystal clear. The maid's story was a living commentary on its meaning. She was living the truth he had been searching for in books. She enjoyed the world, the new sari, without being attached to it, knowing that it was a temporary gift. She renounced them, accepting both poverty and small luxuries with an equal mind. She demonstrated how to enjoy her renunciation, the very essence of the world. She saw the hand of God in everything, in her employer's kindness, in the gift of the sari, and in her daily toil. Das Ganu was overwhelmed with emotion. Tears of gratitude streamed down his face. In the humble words of this unlettered maid, he had found the wisdom that had eluded the greatest scholars. He finally understood that the Ishavasya Upanishad was not a philosophical puzzle to be solved with the intellect. It was a truth to be lived, a reality to be experienced in the heart. The maid embodied this truth perfectly. She accepted all that life gave her as a gift from God. She did not cling to pleasure or run from pain. This state of inner contentment, of seeing the divine in every aspect of life, was the true renunciation the scripture spoke of. He realized that Sai Baba's teaching method was unique and profoundly effective. Baba knew that an intellectual explanation would only add to Das Ganu's confusion. He needed to see the principle in action. By sending him to the maid, Baba showed him that spiritual wisdom is not the exclusive property of scholars or ascetics. It can be found in the hearts of the simplest people who live their lives with faith and contentment. The maid was a true guru in that moment, for she was living the scripture. Baba taught that the entire world is our teacher, if only we have the eyes to see and the humility to learn. This beautiful story reveals the core of Sai Baba's teachings. He consistently guided his devotees away from dry intellectualism and towards heartfelt experience. He showed that God is not found in complex debates, but in love, service, and acceptance. The lesson of the maid is a lesson for all of us. True happiness does not come from acquiring more things, but from being content with what we have, seeing it all as a gift from the divine. It is about understanding that our true self, the soul, is separate from the changing circumstances of the world, just as the maid was separate from her new and old clothes. This understanding brings freedom and lasting peace. Das Ganu returned to Shirdi with a heart full of light and gratitude. He no longer needed a commentary on the Upanishad. He had seen it come to life. Sai Baba's unique lesson had transformed his understanding forever. It reminds us that the highest spiritual truths are often hidden in the most ordinary moments of our daily lives. We must learn to look for God not just in temples and scriptures, but in the kindness of a neighbor, the joy of a simple gift, and the quiet contentment of a faithful heart. This is the path of true wisdom, the path that Sai Baba lovingly illuminated for all his children.